Joining me this morning from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, one of the good guys. I mean, they're all good guys at Will, I would say. Lucas Weber, Will Deputy Counsel. Good morning, Lucas. How are you?
Good morning, Meg. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm
Thank
doing
you.
well.
Thanks. Hey, I know it's. I was asking people last week about this, and I know we shared a little bit about your Thanksgiving gathering with your family. But what's your favorite dish if you had to pick one?
Stuffing for sure.
Oh yeah,
Stovetop.
Stovetop even. Interesting. That's high in sodium. Did you know? No, but yeah, that's a popular one. I like to enhance it when I don't make stovetop. I just buy like the little I don't know, I want to call them croutons, but they're not. Just the little unseasoned
Sure.
pieces of cubes of bread, but I add all kinds of stuff to it. But does your stuffing have something unconventional in it, or is it just straight up stuffing?
I just like it just straight up out of the box, regular old made, as plain as can be. So,
Now, do your kids enjoy Thanksgiving food?
a little bit, yeah. They as they get older, they're enjoying more and more of it. That's for sure.
Well, I find that, and I said this last week, I joked about this, is I always try to get out of cooking because I make these suggestions. Hey, maybe we should do a family trip, or we could go out to eat somewhere, or do something different this year. And
Right.
it's always met with, nope, you need to cook, Mom. So and I mean, I guess that way I know that it's going to be good because I am pretty decent cook. And stuffing was a popular one. And I mean, we add all kinds of stuff to it, but I mean, good stuff like sausage, celery, and onions. I mean, that's pretty much it, and it's just really flavorful. But
Awesome.
so let's talk wedding barns. They've come back, or we're still Will is still representing them with regard to this recent act passed by the Act 73 passed by the legislature and signed into law. Um, Talk about and we've had conversations about this before. I've had one of your clients on, Gene Bond, the owner of Farmview Event Barn, and just how it's going to impact some of these small business owners that have these wedding barn businesses.
Yeah, so just a really quick refresher for everybody. Wedding barns are just private event venues. In many cases, it's farmers who take an unused or underused barn. They put some money into it, clean it up, make it suitable for private events. They then rent that space out to bride and groom for their wedding and their reception. So couples can they basically just take the space from the farmer. They can do whatever they want with it. So many couples will go to a warehouse store, a liquor store. They'll pick up some alcohol beverages. They'll pick up non-alcohol beverages. They serve food to their guests. They serve beverages to their guests. They do it all on their own. They're not selling any alcohol. The barn doesn't provide any alcohol. It's a system that has worked for a long time in Wisconsin without any issue whatsoever. Um, but in Act 73, passed last year, was the culmination of a years-long effort to essentially put wedding barns out of business. It requires them to get a liquor license, even though they don't sell, provide, or handle alcohol. And in many cases, it's impossible for them to even get a liquor license. So they really don't have an option. It's just going to either force these event venues to not hold events with alcohol served at them or consumed at them, and then or just essentially go out of business. So what we did was we representing two wedding barns, including one that's in a dry township that doesn't even allow liquor licenses, brought a challenge to those portions of Act 73, which was adopted last year. And we filed that in circuit court, arguing that it violated equal protection as well as the barn owner's right to earn an honest living. So the state responded to that motion to that lawsuit with what's called a motion to dismiss. They effectively tried to get rid of the entire suit altogether. Have the whole thing dismissed. The judge in that case denied their motion as to all of our main claims. It was Friday before last, and that was great news for our clients. So the case moves forward. They're going to get their day in court. We'll be able to shed some light on Act 73 and how this all came about. And it's really tremendous news for the fight for economic liberty here in Wisconsin.
So we were chatting off air about this, and there are some, I mean, admittedly, there are some good things that are contained within Wisconsin Act 73, but then there are those issues that are those, I guess, requirements for some of these small business owners that are harmful to them. Is with this lawsuit, is your objective to, I don't know what the term would be, remove some of those requirements of
Yeah,
business owners? I mean, is that something that you could attain through this lawsuit?
yeah, that's the hope. So Act 73, as you said, it did a lot of stuff. Uh, Much of it, most of it, in fact, was very good stuff. Deregulatory stuff made it easier for many businesses to operate in Wisconsin, which is great. And then, of course, there was this provision that was put in, and it was one small part of Act 73, which was to attack these event venues. And our lawsuit just challenges that portion of it. So we're asking the court to declare that portion of Act 73 unconstitutional, which means that the rest of Act 73 would continue in force, but this provision of Act 73 would not. And it's supposed to take effect in January of 2026. So there was a delayed effective date when they passed the bill. So it hasn't yet taken effect, but it will take effect in January of 26 unless we are successful in the lawsuit before then.
Wow. So, what is there precedent, Lucas? I mean, that's obviously part of the legal profession. Is there something that within the law that, or a case that was decided in the past that would help you win this in this district court
Yeah, so
or
we've
circuit court,
cited
maybe?
some of that in our complaint, and we'll get the opportunity to do more here as discovery, and then the briefing process, and potentially even a trial in this case, comes forward, and some of this stuff comes to light. But yeah, we think there is legal precedent for it. We think the court certainly has the power to do this. And again, these are constitutional rights. We think it's their right to equal protection under the law is being violated, and that's just how the law itself was structured. It treats the same venue completely differently depending on where they're located around Wisconsin, and it also violates their right to earn an honest living, which is a long recognized right here in Wisconsin, um, going back over 100 years. So we certainly feel good, and we're grateful that we get the opportunity to go to court and again shed some light on these claims and ultimately prove them and get a judgment that this law is unconstitutional and hopefully save these small businesses.
So, why would this have passed in our legislature? If I mean, they have a, I mean, don't I'm the name of the group is escaping me. I shouldn't say group, but the entity within the legislature. They have attorneys that review this. I mean, why wouldn't they have warned our legislators that this was, well, I guess as you're
Yeah,
arguing, illegal?
so we did testify on this specific provision of the bill before the legislature. And I think, as I said, there is a lot of good that's in this bill. So lawmakers, as is often the case, are put in an impossible choice. They often have to choose between two very difficult things, and the question for them was whether to support all the good in this bill and do that knowing there's some bad in it. So it's a choice they all have to make, and that's what we send them there for. So, but yeah, I think this provision was certainly known. The way that the bill was passed was very irregular, to say the least. But whatever the reason, though, it has passed and it is law, and it's going to take effect next year, which is why our lawsuit is so important right now.
So you're optimistic, in other words, because of this recent decision.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, this just being able to have the opportunity to move forward and have our day in court is incredibly important, and being able to fight for these businesses is what we're here for, and to fight for freedom and the constitutional rights of Wisconsinites.
I mean, the fact that you point out that one of the businesses is operating in a dry, did you say dry county or dry
It's a dry township. It's a
township?
township that does not issue liquor licenses. So.
Okay. So, I mean, that in and of itself seems to lend a lot of support to your argument.
Yeah, and again, they don't want to sell alcohol. They don't want to handle it. They don't want anything to do with the alcohol side of it. They just provide the space, and it's your private party for your private guests. It's like just like last week, some of us hosted Thanksgiving dinner. We would have provided alcohol in some cases to our guests, and the government doesn't have any business come knock on our door and ask if we have a liquor license.
That seems to be a no-brainer, Lucas. Again, I'm surprised that this piece of it ended up in Wisconsin Act 73. I mean, would it have been possible to have not included this little? I don't know. I mean, is that the fault that you find in this entire legislation?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's it, I should say.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly the worst piece of it from my perspective, and the most troubling one. And like I said, there is a lot of good in there, so I don't want to, it is. There are some good things in Act 73 that did a lot of good for a lot of businesses in the state and a lot of people in the state. But this one provision in using government to effectively eliminate an entire sector of the economy is bizarre and unfortunate.
Yeah, it honestly seems really strange that it would, that despite your best efforts, they went ignored. And I mean, I guess it lends credibility to the thought that the Tavern League is a very powerful lobby in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, there are a lot of factors at play here, and a lot of, anytime you're kind of involving anything to do with the alcohol industry, there's a lot of people who are interested in that, and rightfully so. And but there certainly is a lot of moving pieces here, and Act 73 touched on a lot of things. But it's just unfortunate that this was one of them that got added to it, and it wasn't a separate piece of legislation that could have been voted on yes or no, because I think if it was, they would have had a very difficult time finding the votes to pass it.
Yeah, well, and I mean, it seems odd that it's not as if these wedding barns are really competition for taverns, because I don't know about you, but I maybe have been to a wedding reception at a venue that is attached to a bar before, but I mean, I don't see how they're taking anything away. The wedding barn businesses are taking anything away from, whatever, whomever believed that they were going to be affected by not requiring that they get liquor licenses.
Yeah, I certainly agree, and it's a different type of wedding. I mean, certainly a bride and a groom who want to go this route, they're going to pay less money for that, but they're also going to have to do a lot more work. They're going to have to procure all that stuff themselves, serve it to their guests themselves, figure out some way to do all that. Whereas if you go to a more traditional wedding venue and you kind of buy the all-inclusive package, it makes your life a lot easier, but you spend a little more. I mean, it's all about the marketplace and what couples are looking for when they're getting married, and what kind of event they want to have, and certainly just giving them options and letting people decide what's best for them is important. And unfortunately, what Act 73 does is it effectively will take one of those choices away and just say that these types of venues are no longer an option. Now, the act itself does pay some lip service and says, you could continue to get a what they call a no sale event venue permit, but then you can only host one event per month and no more than 6 events per year. So again, just putting all these places out of business. They would also be prohibited from serving liquor, so it would only be beer and wine. So bride and groom in Wisconsin couldn't toast their wedding day with an old-fashioned, for example, which is just, un-American, I would say. But
or at least un-Wisconsin. I mean,
very un-Wisconsin.
Let's
Yeah.
face it. And interesting that you bring that up, because I've seen old-fashioned spelled in different ways depending on which establishment you're going to. Some of them refer to it as old fashions, and then there are others that call it old fashions, past tense. So I never really know which one is which, but
I don't know either. I'm sure there is some official ruling out there somewhere. Maybe somebody can call in and tell you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I always just chuckle about it because I see it written both ways, and regardless, it's quintessential Wisconsin, and to not be able to, just as you said, even having family gatherings, technically, right? if you are serving alcohol at a family gathering, isn't that, isn't that considered illegal behavior?
Only under this if you rented the space you're in. So if you had an Airbnb, for example, for if you decided to rent an Airbnb for your Thanksgiving dinner, um, the law says that Airbnbs would now need a liquor license unless there are enough beds for all adult guests to sleep, which is frankly another bizarre provision of the bill. But yeah, I mean, if you're just in your home still on your own property that you own and you didn't rent, then Act 73 wouldn't apply to you. It only applies if the space itself is rented out.
Well, and I would think about there are a lot of apartment complexes that have party rooms that you have to reserve, and often
Yeah,
you have to pay a fee for. So that would eliminate that right there. I mean, you couldn't, as an
yeah.
individual, take advantage of that.
There are a whole host of, I think, I would hope, anyways, there are unintended consequences of this bill that just people are going to find out over the next few years as enforcement begins, because the bill also creates a number of enforcement positions, basically a private enforcement force at the Department of Revenue, who are going to be looking to enforce this bill, which is also terrifying and another bad part of the bill.
The wedding barn police, I guess,
The
is what
wedding barn police,
you're
yes.
referring to. Yeah, it is. Well, I look forward to following this. Do you have, so have you been assigned to, is the circuit court judge going to ultimately be the one that makes the decision, or where does
Yeah,
it
yeah.
stand? Okay.
So, yep, we are in front of the circuit court right now. Expect that to be the judge we have through the circuit court, and then, potentially an appeal would go, of course, to the Court of Appeals beyond that if there is one. So,
Do you have confidence in this judge that he or she has his or her head screwed on straight? As my
yeah, I
dad
mean, I
would say?
certainly, certainly. I mean, you'll never hear me ever speak ill of a judge in Wisconsin, of course.
Why
But I
would
think,
you?
this judge, he read his decision in front of the court, and I thought it was well reasoned. Certainly pleased with the result, and I'm looking forward to having our day in court. So.
Which everybody ought to have, that's for sure. Well, Lucas Weber, thanks for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. Please keep me posted. I know I'll just keep an eye on the press releases that come out from Will, and for our listeners as well. Will-law.org is your website for more information. And appreciate your time this morning. Hope you have a great
Thanks
day.
for having me. You as well, Meg. Take care.